but he controlled it quickly. He spoke gently. "Tell me about it. It will do you good to talk." The judge turned from the fire, and at sight of his flushed cheeks and lighted eyes the other shrank back, and the judge saw it. "You needn't be alarmed," he said quietly. "Nothing is wrong with me, but something has happened, as I told you, and everything is changed." His eyes lifted as he spoke and strayed about the room, as if considering a change which had come also to the accustomed setting. A shock of pity flashed from the other and was mastered at once. "Can you tell me what has happened?" he urged. The judge, his face bright with a brightness that was dreadful to the man who watched him, held his hand to the fire, turning it about as if enjoying the warmth. The other shivered. There was silence for a minute. The judge broke it, speaking thoughtfully. "Suppose you had been born blind, Ned," he began, "and no one had ever given you a hint of the sense of vision, and your imagination had never presented such a power to your mind. Can you suppose that?" "I think so, yes," the brother-in-law answered, with careful gentleness, watching always the illumined countenance. "Yes, I can suppose it." "Then fancy, if you will, that, all at once sight came, and the world flashed before you. Do you think you'd be able to describe such an experience?" The voice was normal, reflective. Many a time the two had talked together of such things in this very room, and the naturalness of the scene, and of the judge's manner, made the brother-in-law for a second forget the tragedy in which they were living. "Why, of course," he answered. "If one had never heard of such a power, one's vocabulary wouldn't take in the words to describe it." "Exactly," the judge agreed. "That's the point I'm making. Perhaps now I may tell you what it is that has happened, or rather I may make you understand how a definite and concrete event has come to pass which I can't tell you." Alarm suddenly expressed itself beyond control in the brother-in-law's face. "John, what do you mean? Do you see that you distress me? Can't you tell me clearly if someone has been here, what it is, in plain English, that has happened?" The judge turned his dreamy, bright look to the frightened man. I do see," he brought out affectionately. "I'll try to tell, as you say, in plain English, but it is like the case I put. It is a question of lack of vocabulary. A remarkable experience has occurred in this room within an hour. I can no more describe it than the blind man could describe sight. I can call it by only one name, which may startle you: a revelation." "A revelation?" The tone expressed incredulity, scarcely veiled scorn. The judge's brilliant gaze rested undisturbed on the speaker. "I understand. None better. A day ago, 2 hours ago, I should have answered in that tone. We have been trained in the same school, and have thought alike. Dick was here a while ago and said things. You know what Dick would say. You know how you and I have been sorry for the lad, been indulgent to him, with his keen, broad mind, and that inspired self-forgetfulness of his. How we've been sorry to have such qualities wasted on a parson, a religion machine. We've thought he'd come around in time, that he was too large a personality to be tied to a treadmill. We've thought that all along, haven't we? Well, Dick was here, and out of the hell where I was, I thought that again. When we talked, I thought in a way, for I couldn't think much, and that after a consistent voyage of agnosticism, I wouldn't be whipped into a sniveling belief at the end, by shipwreck. I would at least go down without surrendering. In a dim way I thought that. And all that I thought then, and have thought through my life, is nothing. Reasoning doesn't weigh against experience. Dick is right. The other man sat before him, bent forward, his hands on his knees, listening, dazed. There was a quality in the speaker's tone which made it necessary to take his words seriously. Yet the other sighed and relaxed a bit as he waited, watched. The calm voice went on. "The largest event of my life has happened in the last hour, in this room. It was this way. When Dick went out, I went utterly to pieces. It was the farthest depth. Out of it I called on God, not knowing what I did, and He answered. That's what happened. As if a bandage had been lifted from my eyes. I was in the presence of things indescribable. There was no change, only that where I was blind before, I now saw. I don't mean vision. I haven't words to explain what I mean. But a world was about me as real as this. It had perhaps always been there. In that moment I was first aware of it. I knew, as if a door had been opened, what heaven means, a condition of being. I knew another thing more personal, that, without question, it was right with those I thought I had lost, and that the horror which seemed blackest I have no need to dread. I cannot say that I saw them, or heard, or touched them, but I was with them. I understand, but I can't make you understand. I told Dick an hour ago that if I could believe they were living, that I should ever have them again, I should be perfectly happy. That's true now. I believe it, and I am perfectly happy." The listener groaned uncontrollably. "I know your thought," the judge answered the sound, and his eyes were like lamps as he turned them toward the man. "But you're wrong. My mind is not unhinged. You'll see. After what I've gone through, after facing eternity without hope, what are mere years? I can wait. I know. I am perfectly happy." Then the man who listened rose from his chair and came and put a hand gently on the shoulder of the judge, looking down at him gravely. "I don't understand you very well, John," he said, "but I'm glad of anything, of anything." His voice went suddenly. "Will you wait for me here a few minutes? I'm going home and I'll be back. I think I'll spend the night with you if you don't object." "Object? Wait!" The judge looked up in surprise, and with that he smiled. "I see. Surely, I'd like to have you here. Yes, certainly I'll wait." Outside in the hall one might have heard the brother-in-law say a low word or two to Miller as the man helped him on with his coat. Then the front door shut softly and he was gone. And the judge sat alone, his head thrown back against his chair, his face luminous. The other man swung down the dark street, rushing, agitated. As he came to the corner, an electric light shone full on him, and a figure crossing down toward him halted. "Father, I was coming to find you. Something extraordinary has happened. I was coming to find you." "Yes, Dick." The older man waited. "I've just left Charlie Owen at the house. You remember Charlie Owen?" "No." "Oh, yes, you do. He's been here with Jack. He was in Jack's class in college, in Jack's and Ben Armstrong's. He used to go on shooting trips with them both, often. I remember now." "Yes, I knew you would." His voice rushed on. "He has been away just now, down in Florida shooting, away from civilization. He got all his mail for a month in one lump, just now, 2 days ago. In it was a letter from Jack and Ben Armstrong, written that night, written together. Do you see what that means?" "What?" The word was not a question, but an exclamation. "What, Dick?" "Yes. There were newspapers, too, which gave an account of the trial. The first he'd heard it. He was away in the Everglades. He started instantly and came on here, when he read the papers, and realized the bearing his letter would have on the trial. He has traveled day and night. He hoped to get here